Hey everyone, get ready for a wild ride because we're diving deep into some jaw-dropping moments that have put Blake Lively in the hot seat. From cringe-worthy interviews to shocking fan interactions, we're unpacking the controversies that have sparked debates, raised eyebrows, and left people talking across the internet. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the very end because we've got clips and stories that'll leave you stunned. So, grab a snack, settle in, and let's jump into the drama. Let's start with a moment that had everyone wincing. Imagine this. Blake Lively is sitting down for an interview, and the host, trying to be warm and friendly, congratulates her on her pregnancy, saying, "You have a baby at home and a baby on the way. Congratulations." Sounds like a sweet gesture, right? Well, Blake didn't think so. She fires back with, "What makes you say that? The shark told me," and follows it up with, "You know you don't ever say that to a woman." Yikes. The interviewer was just trying to share some positivity, but Blake's sarcastic and sharp response turned the moment super awkward. It wasn't like he was digging into her personal life. He was simply acknowledging a big milestone. Her reaction made it feel like he'd crossed a major line when he was just being kind. And here's the twist. She didn't let it go. Later, she told the interviewer she'd let him off the hook, like she was doing him a favor for forgiving his so-called mistake. It came off as condescending, and you could see the poor host scrambling to keep things light. Why turn a heartfelt moment into a tense showdown? Hang with me, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, let's move on to another interview that had people buzzing. Blake was promoting Cafe Society, a movie set in a glamorous era with stunning costumes. The journalist, Kirsty Foy, asks Blake and her co-star Parker Posey about the gorgeous outfits they wore in the film. Parker's all smiles, ready to talk about the elegant dresses and classic Hollywood vibes. But Blake? She shuts it down fast. She cuts in and says, "Everybody wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes." Whoa, talk about a plot twist. Kirsty calmly explains that she does ask male actors about their costumes, even giving examples to prove her point. But Blake doesn't back down. Instead, she keeps talking to Parker, like the journalist isn't, even in the room, making the whole exchange feel cold and awkward. It was like she was trying to make a stand about gender bias, but it didn't really fit the moment. The question was about the film's aesthetic, not some deep societal issue. By turning a simple, fun question into a debate, Blake made the interview feel unnecessarily tense. You can't help but wonder, why not just answer and keep the vibe positive? Let's keep the momentum going with a fan interaction that had everyone talking. Blake was at the premiere of It Ends With Us, a movie that tackles heavy themes like domestic abuse. A fan, super excited, hands her a handmade friendship bracelet. It's such a sweet, heartfelt gesture, right? But Blake's response? Not exactly warm. She says, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much, that's so sweet. I'm going to put it here because it doesn't understood her need to keep her look polished." But the way she said it felt dismissive. It was like she was prioritizing her designer gown over a fan's thoughtful gift. A quick smile and slipping the bracelet on for a photo could have made that fan's day. Instead, her response left people feeling like she didn't value the gesture. These kinds of moments make you question how celebrities handle those small but meaningful interactions with the people who support them. Speaking of fans, let's dive into another fan moment that went completely off the rails. A fan asks Blake to say hi to his girlfriend Stephanie on camera. It's a simple, wholesome request, something celebrities do all the time. Blake's response? "Hi, Stephanie. You should leave him." Wait, what? The comment came out of nowhere and left everyone stunned. It wasn't playful or funny, it felt mean-spirited and totally uncalled for. The fan was just looking for a cute shout-out, not for Blake to tell his girlfriend to dump him. People watching were like, why would she say that? It's one thing to have a quirky sense of humor, but this felt like crossing a line. The fan didn't ask for relationship advice, and Blake's response made the moment awkward and uncomfortable. It's moments like these that make you wonder if Blake sometimes forgets the impact her words can have, especially when fans are just trying to share a little love. Now, let's get into something a bit more serious. Blake's been making headlines for her lawsuit against her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, claiming he made her uncomfortable on set with inappropriate behavior. It's a heavy accusation, and it's sparked a lot of debate. But here's where things get complicated. Some people are calling Blake out for what they see as hypocrisy. Back when she was filming A Simple Favor, Blake admitted to improvising a scene where she grabbed her co-star Henry Golding's crotch. She said it was her idea, not in the script, and she thought it added to her character's chaotic energy. At the time, it seemed like a bold, edgy choice. But now, people are pointing out that if Blake felt empowered doing something like that, why is she calling out similar behavior from Baldoni as crossing a line? Both incidents happened in professional, scripted settings, so the comparison has people talking. It's not about saying anyone should feel uncomfortable at work, but when your own actions are on record, it can raise questions. Social media is buzzing with discussions about double standards in Hollywood, power dynamics, and how quickly public opinion can shift when past actions come to light. This situation is definitely a PR nightmare for Blake, and it's only getting messier. Let's shift gears to another interview that left people disappointed. Blake was asked a really important question about It Ends With Us. The movie deals with domestic abuse, so the interviewer wanted to know how fans who relate to those heavy themes could approach Blake in public to share their experiences. It was a golden opportunity for Blake to show empathy, connect with survivors, and prove she understood the weight of the story she was promoting. But instead of leaning into the moment, Blake completely sidestepped it. She cracked a joke, made light of the question, and shifted the focus to something totally superficial. It was such a missed opportunity. People watching were left wondering how she could star in a movie about such a serious topic, and then brush off a question that could have shown she cared. It's not about expecting her to be a therapist, but just showing some basic awareness would have gone a long way. Instead, her response felt tone-deaf and left a lot of fans disappointed. It made the whole campaign feel more like a glamorous marketing gig than a project with real heart. Okay. Let's talk about another moment that had people raising their eyebrows. In an interview, Blake got super passionate about how the media and fans pit women against each other. She was upset about an article claiming she and her Gossip Girl co-star Leighton Meester were frenemies. Blake argued that people always assume women on the same project are rivals, but you don't hear the same about male co-stars like Penn Badgley and Chase Crawford. And honestly, she had a point. There's definitely a tired trope about women being catty or competitive. But here's where it gets ironic. In another interview, Blake does the exact thing she was complaining about. Her brunette co-star is explaining why her character kept her dark hair to stay true to the books, and Blake jumps in with, "Everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway." Oof. The co-star looked so uncomfortable, and you could feel the tension. It wasn't a playful jab. It felt mean and unnecessary. After preaching about how women shouldn't be pitted against each other, Blake turned around and created that exact kind of rivalry. It was such a hypocritical moment, and it left people wondering how she could call out a problem and then contribute to it in the next breath. Let's keep going with another clip that didn't sit well with a lot of viewers. Blake was in an interview talking about her outfit, and instead of just sharing where it was from, she throws in a shady comment about her co-star. She says something like, "This was on the return rack, I think it was hers, so I had to slip them cash to wear it today." It was framed like a joke, but it came off as a backhanded dig, implying her co-star wears cheap clothes, or that Blake wouldn't be caught dead in something budget unless it was for laughs. The co-star's expression said it all. She didn't know how to respond without making things more awkward. The worst part? Nobody asked Blake to comment on her co-star's wardrobe. She brought it up out of nowhere, turning a lighthearted moment into something passive-aggressive. It's moments like this that make people notice a pattern. Blake claims to support women, but then she makes these competitive, catty remarks that feel anything but supportive. Now, let's talk about how Blake promoted It Ends With Us. This movie is a tough watch, dealing with domestic violence and the strength it takes to heal from trauma. So, when Blake was out there promoting it, you'd expect her to lean into those serious themes, right? Nope. Instead, she told fans to grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it. Wait, what? She made it sound like a cute, girly movie night, not a raw, emotional story about surviving abuse. It was such a jarring disconnect. Fans who knew the book's heavy message felt like Blake was missing the point entirely. As the lead actress, she had a chance to raise awareness about domestic violence and connect with people who've been through it. Instead, her approach felt like she was turning a serious story into an Instagram-worthy event. It left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially those who expected more depth from someone starring in such an important project. Another moment that had people talking was when Blake got defensive about being asked about her outfits. Again, we already saw her turn a costume question into a gender debate, but in another interview, she doubled down. When asked about her wardrobe, she snapped, "Everybody wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes." It's like she was allergic to talking about fashion. But then, in a totally different interview, she sings a completely different tune. She opens up about how she loves picking out colorful outfits and expensive rings for interviews because they help her get into character. She even calls her rings a very expensive comfort blanket. So, which is it? Is talking about clothes sexist, or is it a key part of her process? The hypocrisy was hard to miss. It's like she wanted to control the narrative but couldn't, keep her story straight. Moments like this make people question how genuine her public persona really is. Let's revisit that pregnancy comment for another angle, because there's a second clip that's just as uncomfortable. In a different interview, the host tries to congratulate Blake on her baby bump, saying, "You have a baby at home and a baby on the way, congratulations." Blake's response, "What makes you say that? The shark told me." It's like she was trying to be funny, but it landed all wrong. The host was just being kind, but Blake's sarcastic comeback made the moment feel tense and awkward. Instead of embracing the positivity, she shut it down with a comment that felt unnecessarily sharp. It's hard to watch moments like this without wondering why she couldn't just let the kindness slide. It's not like the host was being nosy. He was just sharing some warmth. These kinds of reactions make Blake come off as someone who's quick to take offense, even when it's not warranted. Now, let's talk about another interview that raised some eyebrows. Blake was asked about her pregnancy cravings during a promotional event, and instead of giving a thoughtful or relatable answer, she brushed it off in a way that felt dismissive. People were expecting her to share something personal, or at least acknowledge the struggles of pregnancy, but her response came off as flippant, almost like she was downplaying the experiences of women everywhere. It wasn't a huge moment, but it added to the growing perception that Blake sometimes misses the mark when it comes to connecting with her audience. Fans want to see authenticity, especially when it comes to something as universal as pregnancy. But Blake's response felt like she was keeping everyone at arm's length. Let's dive into another fan interaction that didn't go as planned. Blake was at an event, and a fan asked her to sign something personal, a memento that clearly meant a lot to them. Instead of taking a moment to make it special, Blake rushed through it, barely making eye contact, and moved on quickly. Now, we get it. Celebrities are busy, and events can be hectic. But this fan was visibly disappointed, and the moment was caught on camera. It's those little interactions that can make or break a fan's experience, and Blake's hurried approach left people feeling like she didn't care. It's not about expecting her to spend hours with every fan, but a smile or a quick word can go a long way. Moments like this add to the narrative that Blake sometimes comes off as detached or dismissive. Another clip that's been making the rounds is from an interview where Blake was asked about her role in It Ends With Us and how she prepared for such an emotionally heavy character. Instead of diving into the research or the emotional work she put in, Blake gave a vague, almost flippant answer that didn't really address the question. It was another missed opportunity to show depth and connect with fans who were curious about her process. The interviewer tried to steer the conversation back, But Blake's response felt like she was just going through the motions. For a movie that meant so much to so many people, her lack of engagement was noticeable. It left viewers wondering if she was truly invested in the project or just there for the paycheck. Let's talk about another moment that had people scratching their heads. In an interview, Blake was asked about her chemistry with her co-stars, and instead of giving a standard diplomatic answer, she made a strange comment about how she didn't need to fake it with one of them. It was meant to be a compliment, but the way she said it came off as a subtle dig at another co-star who wasn't mentioned. The room got quiet, and you could tell the interviewer didn't know how to respond. It was one of those moments where Blake's attempt at humor or charm fell flat, leaving people wondering if she meant to throw shade. These kinds of off-the-cuff remarks are what keep landing her in hot water because they're open to interpretation and not always in a good way. Now, let's circle back to the "It Ends With Us" promotion for a deeper look. Blake's "Where?" Your florals comment wasn't just a one-off. It was part of a broader promotional approach that felt out of touch. The movie's marketing leaned heavily into a romantic, almost whimsical vibe, with Blake front and center in glamorous outfits and playful interviews. But the story itself is about surviving abuse, rebuilding your life, and finding strength. Fans of the book, who knew how raw and real the story was, felt like the promotion was glossing over the heavy stuff. Blake, as the lead, had a chance to set the tone and talk about the importance of the film's message. Instead, her approach felt like she was selling a rom-com, not a story about resilience. It's not just about one comment. It's about the disconnect between the movie's heart and how Blake chose to present it. That disconnect is what left so many fans frustrated. Another interview moment that didn't land well was when Blake was asked about her experience working with a female director. Instead of celebrating the collaboration or highlighting the importance of women in filmmaking, Blake gave a vague, almost dismissive answer that didn't really say much. It was another chance to uplift other women in the industry, especially in a field where female directors are still underrepresented. But Blake's response felt like she was just checking a box, not genuinely engaging with the question. For someone who's spoken out about sexism in Hollywood, it was surprising to see her pass up such an easy opportunity to champion a cause she claims to care about. Let's talk about another clip that's been circulating. Blake was at a press junket, and an interviewer asked her about the challenges of balancing her career and motherhood. It's a question many working moms get, and it could have been a chance for Blake to share something relatable or inspiring. Instead, she gave a short, almost annoyed answer, like she didn't want to go there. The interviewer tried to keep the conversation flowing, but Blake's tone made it clear she was over it. It's understandable that celebrities want to keep some things private, but her response came off as cold, especially when the question was framed respectfully. Fans who look up to Blake as a role model were hoping for a bit more warmth or insight, but instead, they got a wall. Another moment that added fuel to the fire was when Blake was asked about her involvement in the It Ends With Us adaptation process. The book has a huge fan base, and people were curious about how much input she had in bringing the story to the screen. Instead of sharing details about her creative process or her connection to the story, Blake gave a generic answer that felt rehearsed. It was like she didn't want to dive into the nitty-gritty, even though fans were genuinely interested. For a project that was so personal to so many, her lack of enthusiasm was noticeable. It made people wonder if she was as passionate about the story as the fans were, or if she was just along for the ride. Let's dive into another shady moment that didn't go unnoticed. In an interview, Blake was talking about her character's wardrobe in a film, and she made a comment about how she borrowed a piece from a co-star's closet, implying it was low quality or not her style. The way she said it was framed as a joke, but it landed like a subtle jab. The co-star, who was sitting right there, gave a tight smile, and you could feel the awkwardness. Nobody asked Blake to comment on her co-star's fashion choices. She brought it up unprompted. It's these kinds of moments that make people see a pattern. Blake often seems to make offhand remarks that feel competitive or passive-aggressive, even when there's no need for it. It's like she can't resist taking a dig, even at the expense of someone else's comfort. Another clip that's been making waves is from an older interview where Blake was asked about her early days in Hollywood. Instead of sharing a humble or relatable story, she made a comment about how she always knew she'd make it big. It was meant to sound confident, but it came off as arrogant, especially since she didn't acknowledge the hard work or luck that goes into a successful career. Fans who followed her journey were hoping for a bit more humility, but her response felt like she was distancing herself from the struggles most people face. It's moments like this that make Blake seem out of touch, especially when she's trying to project a down-to-earth image. Let's talk about another fan interaction that didn't go so well. Blake was at a red carpet event, and a young fan asked for a quick selfie. Instead of pausing for a moment, Blake waved them off, saying she had to keep moving. Again, we get it. Red carpets are chaotic. But the fan was clearly crushed, and the moment was caught on camera. It's those small interactions that can mean the world to someone, and Blake's dismissal left a sour taste. A quick smile or a kind word could have made that fan's night, but instead, they walked away disappointed. These kinds of moments add to the perception that Blake sometimes prioritizes her image over her fans' feelings. Another interview that didn't help Blake's case was when she was asked about her thoughts on the Me Too movement. It was a chance to show solidarity and speak up about an important issue, especially given her platform. But instead of offering a thoughtful response, Blake gave a vague, almost non-committal answer that didn't really say anything. It was like she was trying to stay neutral, but it came off as detached. For someone who's been vocal about sexism in the industry, it was surprising to see her shy away from such a significant topic. Fans were hoping for more passion or insight, but her response felt like a missed opportunity. Let's wrap up with a final look at why these moments matter. Blake Lively is a talented actress with a massive following, but these controversies show a side of her that's hard to ignore. From snapping at interviewers to dismissing fans, making shady comments about co-stars, and mishandling serious topics, there's a pattern of behavior that's left people questioning her authenticity. It's not about expecting her to be perfect. Nobody is. But when you're in the public eye, how you treat people matters. Fans notice. Colleagues notice. And in the age of social media, those moments spread like wildfire. With the lawsuit against Justin Baldoni bringing her past actions back into the spotlight, the conversation around Blake's behavior is louder than ever. These clips and stories are a reminder that words and actions have power, especially when you're a role model. So, what's the takeaway? These controversies aren't just about Blake. They're about the responsibility that comes with fame. Celebrities have a platform to inspire, uplift, and connect, but they can also disappoint when they miss the mark. Blake's had plenty of chances to show empathy, grace, and authenticity, but too often, she's chosen a different path. Whether it's a sarcastic comeback, a shady jab, or a tone-deaf promotion, these moments add up. They make people wonder if the charming, relatable Blake Lively they see on screen is the real deal. As she navigates this stormy chapter, one thing's clear: the public's watching, and they're not forgetting. All right, now it's your turn. Which of these moments shocked you the most? Was it the pregnancy comment clapback, the shady co-star dig, or the "it ends with us" promotion misstep? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm dying to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more juicy content like this. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.